Imagine not our last while we're in Minneapolis.
So this is Aaron. I talked to Aaron. He's playing the same deck he played at the Pro Tour, which I think he had, an 11-5 top 50 sort of finish with.
Okay.
We call this Obzon cards.
There's
There's no mana acceleration. It's very close. I guess Patrick Chapin's winning list is sort of the derivative here, where there's things like Fleecemane Lion and Seeker of the Way. That's the base of the deck. 2 copies of Scuttling Doom Engine, not something you see ostensibly. An anti-Elspeth card, also just a halfway decent finisher in a deck that's already attacking early in the game.
That card is underplayed.
Scuttling Doom Engine?
Yes.
I agree.
I don't know where it's supposed to go, but it's underplayed.
It's supposed to go in your opponent's grill.
It's a good place for that. Llanowar Waite's going to start things off here for Olson. Lewis will have a Temple of Malady. Take a look at the top card. That's going to go to the bottom. Both players actually do have Fleecemane Lions in their main deck, so if you're looking for Ari Lax's version of Obzon mid-range, you're actually not going to find that. This one's a little bit different on both sides. You got a Windswept Teeth that's going to get sacrificed here for Lewis. We'll see what Lanny wants to search up. I imagine a Plains, as he does have a Fleecemane Lion in his hand.
Very interesting here in Aaron's deck that there's no copies of Anafenza, because that seems like one of the big payoffs for the aggressive style of Obzon. Mike Sigrist, I know, is a big fan. But there aren't that many creatures in the deck total, so Anafenza is not super reliable to start putting counters on things.
There is the Fleecemane Lion. So beatdowns to start things off here for Lewis. Saw an Obzon Charm drawn there for Olson. There's Mana Confluence. And just passing the turn back, though. Jake does have a pretty painful mana base at this point with the Confluence and the copy of Llanowar Waste. An attack here for 3 from Lewis. See if this works out the way he wants it to. Well, 3 damage not dealt, but 2 not so bad.
And a Hero's Downfall out of the hand, which in the mirror match is one of the most valuable resources that both players have.
There's a backup line after the Sandstep Citadel does come into play. Back to Olson we will go. Olson will draw a card. He'll have to take 2 more to play this Courser of Crewfix. Let's see what the top card's going to be. Oh, there's a Windswept Teeth, so that's not so bad. He's going to go up to 17 from the trigger. And we'll see what the top card's going to be here in just a moment off the Courser, which is a Fleecemane Lion. So if Jake doesn't want to draw that card, he can shuffle it away with the Windswept Teeth. Fantastic interaction with the Courser, of course, as Lewis does draw a copy of Llanowar Waste for the turn.
And Aaron's in some trouble here because at this point his hand is just Hero's Downfall and 4 lands.
Oof. That is not a great spot to be in. Now you can see he's got Nurborg, 2 copies of Llanowar Waste, and that Hero's Downfall. Played a Caves of Kolios for the turn. Jake does actually have some interest in drawing the Fleecemane Lion, which is what he'll do. Top card now is a Thoughtseize. And in the draw step, Lewis is going to fire off this Hero's Downfall to kill the Courser. He gets the information about what the top card is. He doesn't have to worry about a land being there.
Though Aaron does just give up 3 points of damage outright by taking this line of play.
Yes, he does.
He could have just untapped, downfalled the Courser and attacked for 3. It's kind of a low impact play in the mirror match, and given that Aaron's hand is all lands, maybe he doesn't want to go down that road, but it does seem weird to me to be willing to use it inside the draw step when the top card of the deck is not a land. At that point, if you're committed to doing that sort of thing, I'd rather just do it straight up.
Get those 3 points of damage.
Yeah, I mean, it all matters.
Top card now is a copy of Llanowar Waste, so that's what Olson will be drawing for the next turn. Doesn't get to use that for this turn. You see Lewis kind of explaining the interaction here. So Aaron picking up a little bit of information, but misses out on some damage. We'll see if that comes back to hurt him here, as Olson's going to separate some mana. Looks like he's got a spell to cast, as we do know he drew Fleecemane Lion last turn.
But with Aaron threatening the Monstrous next turn, I think if Jake can kill this Fleecemane Lion, it's not a bad spot to just go ahead and do that.
Does have a Hero's Downfall in hand, so he does have an answer. The question is, does he want to use it?
And a quick check here, he can Murderous Cut plus cast Fleecemane Lion, so he's got Murderous Cut. This seems like a good spot.
He can play Fleecemane Lion, work the 2 spells in 1 turn angle, as Lewis will draw cards, a copy of Siege Rhino. Llanowar Waste the land that is played. And we'll see if Lewis does try to Monstrosity this Fleecemane Lion. A little bit risque, especially when your opponent reaches over there for the graveyard.
And I think Aaron has sniffed out that Murderous Cut might be in Jake's hand. You saw Jake fiddle around with his graveyard last turn, so Aaron's just going to say go and say, all right, you want to cast something on your turn? Well, then I get to go ahead and monstrous my Fleecemane Lion.
Well, this should be interesting. Kind of a Fleecemane Lion standoff when both players have 5 mana.
Yep.
If Jake attacks, what does Aaron do? And now Jake will just pass the turn back. And Lewis, no interest in activating the monstrosity. So we've got a bit of a stare down here, Patrick.
And this favors Aaron because his hand's so bad.
Yeah.
If both players are sitting around and playing draw go for a while, well, that's a big assistance to Aaron because his hand's so bad. And Jake's hand is all spells.
Obzon Charm is going to be cast at the end of turn here. Sign in Blood mode. Going to pay 2 life, draw 2 cards, will Olson. Now Olson will draw another card. Things are certainly changing this game. All because of the Murderous Cut in Olson's hand. It looks like Fleecemane Lion is ready to come on into the red zone, maybe. Olson's still a little bit unsure. You can see Lewis's hand. He does have an Ajani, along with a Siege Rhino and a land. Draws a copy of Thoughtseize. That's a good way to break the parity. And that's what we're going to see happen.
Yeah, the pacing of this game with this Fleecemane Lion standoff has been great for Aaron. He went from just having lands in hand to now having an Ajani and a Siege Rhino. He's got some stuff to work with.
Murderous Cut is going to be cast here. Aaron says, all right, in response to that, I'm going to activate this. And Jake says, all right, well, I'm going to take some more damage. And now Hero's Downfall in response to the monstrosity. But he gets 2 spells, which is a win there for Lewis. And he also has a Thoughtseize resolving as well, so he gets to take the best card out of Olson's hand.
Though Aaron is down on spell count right now, as Jake's hand is completely loaded, and Jake is threatening a monstrous Fleecemane Lion next turn.
And it's a pretty good hand over there. There's a Liliana, there's a Hero's Downfall as well. There are some juicy choices there for Aaron Lewis. Looks like he's going to go with Liliana Vest. Can't let that hang around.
No, the rest of the stuff, at least Aaron has the hope of top decking out of if it's just random creatures, but that Liliana unchecked is not going to be something Aaron can beat at this spot.
Lewis going to play his Urborg and just pass the turn back. Over at Olson, we're going to go. Olson will draw a card, play Temple of Silence very quickly at the top of his deck, take a look at the top card. And it looks like he's going to leave it on top. Maybe not. To the bottom it's going to go. Here's an attack. And it is potentially time for Monstrosity. Yes, it is. So damage will be dealt there. Olson going to go down to 11, but now the Fleecemane Lion is furious. However, Lewis does have a Siege Rhino to try to block the road on this thing. Temple of Silence to draw for the turn. Temple's going to come into play. Take a look at the top card.
Just challenging because Aaron knows that Jake has a lot of removal in hand, so can't kill this Fleecemane Lion, and blocking it's also going to be problematic.
You saw Lewis leave the top card of his deck with the Temple of Silence on top. The top card of his deck right now is actually a copy of Siege Rhino. There is the initial Siege Rhino. So Lewis is going to go up to 16. Olson's going to go down to 8. We can't forget as well that Lewis is still sandbagging that Ajani. Mentor of Heroes at the ready. Though
And
I do believe Jake just drew a Thoughtseize.
you can tell why the damage matters in this matchup, where Aaron giving up the 3 points matters. I mean, Jake, with the lands that he's had in play, there's Thoughtseizes in these decks. You know, even though Aaron hasn't really had that much success attacking so far this game, Jake's on 9 and not really in a position to win this game terribly quickly.
And there's another removal spell to get the Siege Rhino out of the way. Here's an attack for 4. Lewis is going to draw a card. It's another Rhino. He knew that was there, as did we. So the big question now is, does he want to deploy that, or does he want to go with a Ajani? And it looks like he wants to go with a Ajani. So the elevator is going up. That's the only way it can go on that card. You see an Elspeth, a Rhino. Interesting cards to look at here. Elspeth is certainly appealing in this situation.
I know it's also kind of appealing to try to just Rhino Jake out.
Yeah, that's a very real thing at this point. Force him to just keep having removal spells. Also, Rhino blocks the road on the Lion.
Yeah.
So Lewis has a real decision to make.
And again, missing out on that Hero's Downfall. That one turn might turn out to be critical here.
It's the Rhino. The burn you out plan might be where he's going. Got to pass the turn back with 2 Rhinos in hand. Olson will untap and draw a card. Obzon Charm is what he's found. Going to tap that Llanowar Waste for black, but not take any damage because there's Norborg in play. So now there goes the Siege Rhino of Thoughtseize. However, Olson's going to go down to 7. I was a little curious if it was appropriate for Aaron to actually play the Urborg a couple turns ago, just because Jake's black mana situation is so bad. Temple of Silence to draw.
I'm surprised there that Jake did not take the opportunity to Abzan Charm up the Fleecemane Lion to take out the Ajani that turn.
Yeah, Johnny's starting to get some real value here.
I can see a game plan where you're just trying to tempo out and use your removal spells to take care of Aaron's blockers, but this strikes me as a little bit risky.
Lewis looks like he's going to take a Fleecemane Lion off this Ajani activation. The rest of those cards are going to go to the bottom. Temple of Silence, another card that Aaron does have. He'll play that for the turn. Take a look at the top card. Looks like a Hero's Downfall is moving to the bottom. There's a Rhino. So a little drain and gain. And it looks like Lewis, he may have no interest in actually playing the Fleecemane Lion this turn. Okay, he will deploy. I thought that there might be like a real opportunity where he just wants to play and activate it in the same turn, but he wants to play 2 threats instead.
Well, with the Ajani still in play, then your mana most likely is going to be committed to your draw step plus whatever you find off of Ajani. And Jake's also on 4. You know, I'm pretty happy just to get any threat on the table at that stage.
Looks like Olson's got her removal spell to cast. Hero's Downfall. Looks like it just be a Murderous Cut either way. Get that off the table. Quickly untap and draw will Olson. Plays a land very quickly. Not wasting any time getting that land into play. Let's see what this is going to be. There's the Downfall. He's going to take down a Johnny this time. Here's 3 mana. Going to take down the Fleecemane Lion, and now here's an attack for 4. So he's cleared up everything.
But Aaron still has draws.
All it takes is a Rhino to stabilize this board.
Scuttling Doom Engine?
Well, that's
Ever heard of it?
That's true. Hero's Downfall was the draw. I've heard of that one. That one's not all that helpful. Here's an attack for 4. Lewis is down to 3. Amazon Charm's going to pump up the jam on this. Put him down to 1. Draw. Courser. That's a blocker. 2 and 3. Take a look at the top card. Sands of Citadel, put you up to 2. What's the next card here for Lewis? Temple of Malady, not what he's looking for. Olson going to quickly untap, and that is going to do it, as I believe Jake may have a copy of End Hostilities in his hand.
Well, Aaron also knows that he has to chump block that turn.
And he's going to draw Temple the next turn. And he's dead. Yeah, so he's lights out. So Jake Olson going to win game number 2 over Aaron Lewis in the Abzan mid-range mirror. And game number 3 is where we'll be headed in just a moment.
Aaron was able to make a game out of it, even though he got outspelled by quite a bit.
Sideboards is where we will go. Aaron Lewis is going to be on the play here. It doesn't look like he's sideboarding too much, but let's take a look at what he has.
He has an Erase, 2 copies of Bat's Nature, 3 Drowned Sorrow, 2 Elspeth, 2 Hornet Queen, a Temple of Silence, a Whip of Erebos, a Murderous Cut, Silence the Believers, and a Despise. I think, Despise, Silence the Believers, Murderous Cut, Whip of Erebos, the Temples, and the extra Planeswalkers all seem fine to me.
Other side of things, I got 2 Murderous Cuts, 2 Hostilities, a Dune Blast, a Liliana Vest, 2 Nissa World Waker, 3 Drowned in Sorrow, and a Race, a Whip of Erebos, and then 2 copies of Thoughtseize. Kind of the same plans for both players, really, though this Dune Blast will play a pretty big role here.
Just be able to answer things cleanly and efficiently and have power. That's the recipe to the matchup.
Yeah, that's what I think so, too. Both players going to shuffle up here. Game number 3 going to be underway in just a moment. But while we do wait, we will talk about our 2015 schedule here. For quarter 1, we're going to fire up in Columbus yet again. It seems like we go there 3, 4, 5 times a year.
Well, it is centrally located. There's a lot of conventions, especially the Origins Game Fair, which has us, desiring to come back. And it's convention ready. So Columbus is a great location, centrally located if based on population centers in the United States, and can handle large conventions.
So can Philly. Washington, D.C. after that, and then we will go to Indy as well. Then we start making it into some warmer weather. We'll go to Houston for the first time ever on the Open Series, L.A., Baltimore, and then we got ourselves a Grand Prix in Miami. Close it out in Dallas, and then our first invitational of 2015. Season 1 will be in Richmond. It wasn't Charlotte last year, Richmond next year.
And I'm very excited about the Grand Prix in Miami. That's going to be standard format, and more information is going to be rolling out on that as we get closer to the date. But if you know how Star City Games does Grand Prix, Miami is going to be an event you will not want to miss.
Well, we've got some big things in the works for that for you guys. It's game number 3 underway here. Both players with some tap lands to start, as Abzan is off to do. There is a Temple of Malady. Take a look at the top card here for Lewis. Going to put that one to the bottom. Pass it over to Olson, who will draw a card. You saw him lead off with the stance-up Citadel. His second land will be a copy of Llanowar Waste. Looks like he's going to take one. And it's a Sylvan Caryatid. So he's got the acceleration. Lewis draws a copy of Fleece Mainline. There's a Forest. And Aaron will just pass the turn back with an Abzan Charm at the ready.
So I question how much the mana acceleration really matters in this matchup, because both decks are so good at trading that getting your threats ahead of schedule doesn't really matter if they're just getting hit with Heroes Downfalls and Murderous Cuts and Utter Ends anyway. It wouldn't surprise me if Caryatid was, in fact, one of the worst cards in the matchup, at least when you get into the mirror match.
Have seen some players sideboarding it out. Have seen some players actually opt to go against the card entirely in Abzan mid-range. Last weekend in Worcester, we saw a Johnny Pride Mate over Caryatid.
Aaron has 0 copies in his list. He's Fleece Mainline and Secret of the Way on 2.
Yeah. No interest in that card. Both those cards, actually, oddly enough, worth their way right through a Sylvan Caryatid.
Yep. Well, the threat base you play still has to be informed by trying to beat Caryatid. So random ground pounders that can't get up to 3 power or don't have Death Touch, you still don't want to be playing.
Of course, you're going to allow us to take a look at an Elspeth on the top of the deck. Lewis is going to use the Sign of Blood mode here on Abzan, trying to draw 2 cards. Siege Rhino and a Windswept Teeth are his draws from that. We'll draw a card for the turn, which is a Thoughtseize. As we make our way to Aaron's 4th turn here, a couple copies of Rhinos. He will sacrifice his Windswept Teeth, search up the Plains. And it looks like a very angry Rhinoceros will be joining the battlefield in just a moment. The trademark of Abzan.
Yes, the signature card.
It's a good rap name, the trademark. If I was a rapper, that would be my name.
The trademark?
Yeah.
Ironically enough, I suspect that's already trademarked. But we should look into it.
Probably. Probably. What if I spell it different? Do you think that's trademarked too?
It's much lamer.
M-A-R-C. Broke it. Sansep Citadel. The top card for Corsair coming into play. And there's a Rhino on Olson's side. So that'll be his draw next turn. Unless something really funky happens. 3 mana here for Jake. Abzan Charm says get that Rhino out of here, and for 2 comes the Corsair. One thing I do find very interesting is how are you supposed to use Abzan Charm in this matchup? Are you supposed to just draw cards? Are you supposed to clear the Rhino out of the way? Are you supposed to save it maybe for the blowouts?
I think it just has a lot to do with the pacing of the game. I see all 3 modes come up and them be good at different times. So the +1/+1 counter thing comes up a lot more than I think people would expect, because Siege Rhino and Waymate Rock are back heavy. They're 3/4s and 4/5s. So when those cards get involved in combat with one another, putting counters on things is very powerful.
So Lewis sacrificed the Windswept Teeth to go get a Forest out of his deck. His draw for the turn was a Thoughtseize. So potential for a really nice turn here, which is Thoughtseize plus Rhino. Also has an Abzan Charm in his hand as well. So we're going to see some Haymaker magic here as both these players go back and forth at each other.
I'm curious, though, what Aaron needs to be sculpting together a game plan here, because he's kind of down on the card advantage fight because he's playing against active Corsair. So he either needs to kill the Corsair or be sculpting a very specific sequence of plays here.
Well, the game plan right now is to either take your Waymate Rock or your Elspeth. I think those are the choices here off of this Thoughtseize, as Lewis will record the contents. Couple of lands over there as well. And it looks like Elspeth is the one that's going to bite the dust, and now there's a Rhino. And you can't forget that Olson's actually going to draw a Rhino for his turn, but Lewis has no interest in playing against Elspeth.
Also, this sequence is nice because it's really hard for Jake to attack it to trigger the raid on Waymate Rock this turn, unless he's willing to just run his Corsair in for no upside. Whereas Elspeth, Jake could just cast this turn and have the awesome.
Case of Koilos is going to come into play. There's a Rhino there for Olson. So, drains and gains all around for everybody in this mid-range mirror. Though Lewis does have another copy of Thoughtseize at the ready. However, it's the card on the top of the deck that might scare him the most, as there's that Liliana Vest staring him back in the face. The draw here for Lewis this turn was a copy of Elspeth.
Still can't cast.
Yep, 1 land away from that. Does have the double white, though, due to the Temple of Silence and the Plains. tough spot here for Lewis. Definitely got some powerful cards in his hand. Can't deploy his most powerful one just yet, though.
He can just go on the offensive here. He can use removal spells to clear out the Corsair and the Rhino and start attacking. Which is also not a bad way to preempt Liliana.
Yeah? He's going to start with a Thoughtseize. Looks like that card in Olson's hand is a copy of a race.
Yep.
See what else Lewis wants to do here. We're delving. We're murderous cutting. Get the Rhino out of here. And now the Rhino will attack. So as you mentioned, now he's going to get on the aggressive. Now the big question is, does he think that he can beat this Liliana? And so also play a Fleeceman line. Really good turn there for Aaron.
This is a great turn, and if Jake untaps and just fires off a Liliana, then Aaron has a window to monsters the Fleeceman line, and then protecting the Liliana becomes very complicated.
Well, Olson is going to go with Liliana Vess. So that's going to come into play. And it'll start on 5, and we're going to see where it goes.
I don't think tutoring makes much sense right now with the Hero's Downfall on top of the deck, unless Jake just wants to go and get Doom Blast.
Yep. So he's going to make him discard. The choice between Abzan Charm and Elspeth is not an easy one. And if my opponent is discarding Abzan Charm against me, I'm horrified. Let's see what the draw is. You can get a great look.
I think silence the believers, perhaps?
First things first, it's time to start attacking. There's a block 1. Yep, and there's the monstrosity activation. So Kyriad is going to bite the dust. Liliana is going to go down to 2. Still a productive turn as we head back Olson's way. We know Olson's going to draw that Hero's Downfall, so that's added to the grip. Along with that erase, Temple of Malady going to come into play. So a little bit of life gain here from the Corsair. And we'll take a look at the top card for the Scry, which is another copy of Hero's Downfall.
Which I imagine Jake wants to keep, even though that does not offer him much help against the Fleecemane Lion.
He will keep it. Hero's Downfall going to take care of the Rhino. You saw Lewis discard the Silence the Believers. And back we go. So Lewis looking for that 6th land. Hero's Downfall instead. Says, let me get after that. Okay. Block's good. Kill that with my top deck Hero's Downfall. I know you're going to draw Hero's Downfall. I don't care about that.
Great Sugan Sync here by Aaron. Fleecemane Lion in the mirror match is a real thing.
Seems
this comes
really
up.
good.
This is coming up a lot.
There's an attack for 4. Lewis's draw was a Fleecemane Lion, and you're going to see him deploy that because he knows, okay, you're going to Hero's Downfall that, which means that you don't have a Hero's Downfall for my Elspeth.
There's also nothing else to do. Is he going to sit with that until he has 7 mana? Probably not. So
there's a Johnny Kent Hero's Downfall that. That's going to come in. Elevator's going up on that Fleecemane Lion. Here's a big old attack for 7. And Olson is in a pretty tough spot, and Hostilities was the draw. But Fleecemane Lion doesn't look like it has any interest in going anywhere. Aaron Lewis is going to win this match over Jake Olson. 2-1. He wins the Abzan mid-range mirror, and he moves on to 2-1.